evening. I just had to do that. I would like to call the governing board meeting of February 24th, 2015 to order. I'd like to welcome you, first of all. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. We went a few minutes over, and I thank you. I would like now, hang on, Siri. Housekeeping note, board members of the CEC, board members and members of the CEC, when speaking, and guests, please make sure you speak directly into the microphones. If not, it does become increasingly difficult to hear and of course to pick up and record. So the sound system can pick up your comments. If you move the microphone, be sure to return it to a direct facing position before you address the board. The Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be led by Mr. Heap. So if we can stand and please say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For substitutes. The student life reports will be done by Mr. Herschel Jackson, Director of Student Life at EMCC. And that would be that. The awards, the awardee called in sick. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in the right place. You want me to do that? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. The substitute, and I apologize, is Mary O'Connor for Steve Helfgott, correct? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sir?
Good evening, board members, Chancellor Glasper, CEC, and distinguished guests. My name is Rafael Arriaga, and I am a student ambassador at Charmel Community College. With me tonight, I have my fellow student ambassadors, Joanna Tixay, Ali Morgan, and Selena Rodriguez. This evening, we will be presenting on the Office of Student Life and Leadership and some of the programs and activities that we offer for students that we sponsor on campus. The EMCC Student Union is a central hub for students on campus and location of student life and leadership, athletics, fitness and wellness, and new student orientations.
Hello, my name is Joanna Tixay. The Office of Student Life and Leadership provides forums for students to get them engaged and informed. We want students to have an outlet to let their opinions be heard. We have instructional as well as interactive forums. At every forum we make sure to point out one or more resources available to students given by the Student Life and Leadership Office or by the campus. Our most recent forum was the Student Focus Group Forum, where our facilitators explained results from the previous year's SESI to our students. Students were able to use clickers to actively respond with facilitators to display real-time results to be a part of the actual forum. We also had the Do-It-Yourself Degree Audit Forum, where we showed students step by step how the classes they have already taken count towards their degrees. Our Student-to-Student Forum was an event where we had students discuss any concern about the campus. We took note of those concerns and sent them to administration. An upcoming forum we will have will be the Tuition Increase Forum.
Hello, my name is Ali Morgan. Some past events we've had are the MLK Luncheon, 1 Billion Rising, which brought awareness to domestic violence, the Hispanic Heritage Month, and our monthly Coffee Talk series, which happens on the first Friday of every month. This is an opportunity for students to directly communicate with administrators in an informal situation where they're then able to voice their concerns and any issues they may have. And on average, we have 40 to 50 members that go to each meeting every month. We also have our transfer fair, which is an opportunity for our partnered universities to set up booths on campus to educate students on what transfer opportunities are available. Upcoming events this Thursday is our Black History Conference, which consists of 5 workshops focusing on various aspects of Black history. The conference will be highlighted by a luncheon with a keynote address presented by Ahmed Daniels, who will discuss the similarities and differences in struggles between MLK Jr. and Minister Malcolm X. We also have our Women's Conference, Spring Fling, Clubs and Orgs Olympics, Student Appreciation Day, and towards the end of the semester, we have our Student Success Fair, which is geared towards graduation. And this is an opportunity for all departments on campus to come together and bring awareness of what is offered for students on their way to graduating. Some programs that we offer. We have our Student Food Pantry, which gathers food through donation for students in need. Our Engage Estrella program, which offers mentoring for peers on campus. Also career interviews, which students can then interview professionals in the field that they're interested in. And job shadowing, which helps students get a head start in their futures. Lastly, our Child Care Assistance program, which offers aids to students that attend EMCC. Participants in this program are then also able to participate in our Angel Tree program at the end of each year.
Hello everyone, my name is Selena Rodriguez. Estrella Mountain is one of the 5 pilot schools that participates in the I Will Graduate campaign. With this campaign, we have been able to implement programs such as the College Success Week, Student Success Fair, Graduation and Beyond Forum, and we have also established an I Will Graduate Student Support Center, which is located in the Student Union. We have set time scheduled to have representatives from counseling, career and transfer center, advising, and even ambassadors to provide support to students in the Student Support Center. At Estrella, we have 20 clubs and organizations that produce over 200 programs and community service activities on a yearly basis. One of our community service opportunities was the Refugee Hygiene Program, Hygiene Drive, where students collected hygiene products such as toothbrushes and combs for refugees. Another opportunity for community service was the Goodyear Ballpark Cleanup, where students choose one Saturday of every month to go to the Goodyear Ballpark and clean up garbage and litter that is around, and this goes on all year round. Our most recent event that just passed this Saturday was the Tale of Two Cities, which was a collaboration between Estrella Mountain Community College, the City of Goodyear, and the City of Avondale. It provided an international celebration for the multicultural Southwest Valley. We had over 100 volunteers and approximately 7,500 people attend this event. The following are pictures from the Tale of Two Cities event. At Estrella Mountain Community College, we believe that a healthy body harvests a healthy mind. So we have several opportunities for students to participate in a healthier lifestyle. Our Fitness and Wellness Department provides the MAL Club Challenge, which provides the students an opportunity to set a fitness goal for themselves to reach in 100 days. And while reaching this goal, they earn awards. This is the first academic year we've offered this to students. And for the spring semester, we've enrolled 151 students along with 75 employees for a total of 226 participants in this program. To promote healthy eating habits, we also have Chow Shares. Chow Shares provides students with locally grown organic produce for a reasonable price. It also includes a recipe book on ways to prepare and store the produce. Our athletics department offers men and women's cross country as well as men and women's golf. While only having athletics for 5 years, we've sent 4 males and 4 females to the national championships for golf. On the academic side of athletics, our average GPA for the student athletes is a 3.2. This concludes our presentation. Thank you for your time.
Board members, any comments for these fine individuals? I just would like to say, I recently turned organic. I would love to come to your Chow Shares, and if I can buy a cookbook to know how to keep and use the vegetables, I'm really in the market for that, but I will pay market price. I'm very impressed with the graduate whenever, leaving that open. I will graduate, that positive attitude, and you are certainly, with your sharing and your community outreach, really honing in on the One Maricopa spirit. So thank you very much. It was enlightening. It really was. My favorite part of the evening. Thank you. As we continue on, we're going to our Emeritus Awards tonight. First up, one presentation was called in sick and will be delayed till March, but Dr. Pan from Maricopa Community College.
President Winston, may I approach the podium?
Please do.
Thank you. President Livingston, board members, Chancellor Glasper, CC, colleagues, and guests. I'm here to recommend for your consideration an outstanding faculty member who has served Mesa Community College in the district for over 30 years as a residential nursing faculty member. This lady is a unique, outstanding faculty member, Ms. Janet Jorensen. I'd like to have Janet please join me. Over 30 years, Ms. Jorensen served a residential faculty member specific in the medical surgical area in Boswell Nursing Program. Mesa Community College had a long relationship with Boswell Nursing Program, recently ended, but over the 35-year history that Janet served in that program. She participated in many different areas that further promote the program, and that particular program really turned out many high-quality nurses for Maricopa County. She participated in Faculty in Progress program as a mentor, participated in 3 curriculum changes for district-wide nursing program. She contributed significantly to 3 successful national accreditation cycles, served also as a peer assistant reviewer for professional faculty members. She also performed numerous services that produce significant benefit to students. Her students routinely, consistently rated her teaching, coaching at high standards and outstanding. She serves on college numerous committees. We are happy to see her not leaving, but her retiring to start a new chapter in her life. The department's faculty and department chair and I join everyone to wish you the very best. Thank you for your contribution.
Well, 30 years went by quickly, I have to say. All of a sudden it was 30 and I didn't even realize it. It has been my honor and my privilege, governing board and presidents and guests,
to serve this very, very fine organization all these years. I have loved it. Our graduates are outstanding. I'm proud of every one of my nursing graduates. I was going to count up how many and maybe have a prize for winning, if you could guess. I think it's at least 1,500. It's probably closer to 2,000 that I have educated. I'm proud of all of them. They could take care of me or my family. They could walk into my room. They are outstanding. The curriculum and the nursing divisions of the community college are the best. I am proud to be associated with this organization, and it's just flown by. All of a sudden it's 30, almost 31. March 4th would be 31. And it's my time to step down and let others take over. Boswell's been a big piece of my life. I've loved being out there. I transferred to the main campus when Boswell closed, felt right at home instantly. It's really been my honor, and I thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Linda Lujan from CGCC.
May I approach the podium?
Absolutely.
And may I invite my colleague, Dr. Penn?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, I noticed that now.
Madam Chair, board members, Chancellor Glasper, CEC members, and guests. A few weeks ago, you read an exciting email about Mesa Community College and Chandler Gilbert Community College being named as a Carnegie Community Engaged College. Us for the second time, Mesa for the first time. We didn't think email was enough for this exciting news, so we invited some of our team members to come and present. Dr. Pan, would you like to add anything?
Yes, I would add on to what Dr. Lu has said. This is an outstanding accomplishment for both of institutions. It's a feather in the cap of Maricopa County Community Colleges. Our staff will share with you, this is a rare honor for community colleges. Very few community colleges receive this 10-year designation. We are following the lead of Chandler Gilbert, and we're happy to also receive that designation. Let me ask Mesa Community College's faculty director for our Civic Community Engagement Center, Dwayne Oaks, to join me, and Ron Down Rhodes, who played significant role. Maybe you introduce Chandler Gilbert.
Absolutely. And before I do that, I might add, if you know our history, once upon a time we were Mesa Community College. In 1992, we became independently accredited, but we owe a lot of our DNA to Mesa, so thank you. Joining us this evening, Dr. Cindy Barnes-Farr, Director of Community Affairs, Resource Development.
Dean, did I get a demotion?
Dean. Dean, Cindy, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Should I call you Vice President? Alex Cannell, our Director of Service Learning. Mr. Mike Green, our Director of Student Life. And did I say Dean? Cindy Barnes.
We joke like this all the time.
Please.
Good evening, President Livingston, members of the board, Dr. Glasper, members of CEC, and guests. My name is Dwayne Oaks, and I'm going to open up my PowerPoint. Great. My name is Dwayne Oaks, and I serve as the director of the Center for Community and Civic Engagement at Mesa Community College, and I've served that for over 15 years. I've also served as the founding director of student life at Chandler Gilbert Community College for 10 years. But most importantly, I'm a first-generation graduate of Mesa Community College, and my experiences at the community college have helped me become a better and productive citizen in our community. It's also a pleasure tonight to represent Chandler Gilbert Community College and Mesa Community College as we share our recent recognition by the Carnegie Foundation. I'd like to also recognize in the audience those different people that have already been named. And I can tell you without the team of everybody working together, this process wouldn't be happening. The Carnegie Foundation recognizes higher education institutions for their outstanding community engagement. It's an opportunity to self-assess who we are, what we're doing, and where we need to go. Why would it be important to become a community-engaged campus? Most importantly, it's an institutional commitment. It's a part of who we are as a community college to build community and to make community. It's also the opportunity to have curricular engagement, teaching and learning. The best way to learn is by doing, and it's an opportunity for our students to be engaged in the community. It's also an important part of who we are, outreaching into our community and making a difference. So it matches all of our efforts, institutional mission, vision, and goals. When we look at our mission as a district, it even states that civic responsibility and civic global engagement are part of our outcomes. Specifically, it mentions that community development and civic and global engagement are part of the outcomes of our district. We do that through civic engagement projects, through service learning, through our student clubs and organizations. The big picture of the Carnegie classification is this. There's 4,599 colleges and universities in this country. 361 have the designation of community engaged designation. 361, out of those 361, 3 of them are from Arizona. Chandler Gilbert received it in 2006 and was reclassified in 2015. MCC was in 2015, and ASU received it. The most important thing I think that's really unique is there's only 20 community colleges in the nation that have this designation. Part of the partners that makes the difference, it makes this whole thing, and it's also an important aspect of all of our community colleges because we work together. I serve as on the co-chair of the Service Learning Council, and many of our colleges, all of our colleges work together, and we have over 360 different community partners that are actually documented that we work with. Many of those we work together at Chandler Gilbert and throughout our other colleges to place and coordinate hundreds and hundreds of students to work and serve in our community. Some of those organizations are the American Cancer Society, the United Way, A New Leaf, and hundreds more. One of the most important things for me, as I've worked with students for now over 25 years, is the impact it's having in our students. And as we calculated our numbers, we've calculated that we've been able to track officially, and this doesn't probably count all of the other students that are out there, but we've documented over 38,000 students that have done some type of service learning or civic engagement project in our community. When you turn that into hours that we've documented, that's 1.9 million hours of service. And here's probably one of the most important elements. If we calculated that into the volunteer recognition of what you would pay a volunteer, that's over $37 million of economic impact to our community by our students from our 2 colleges. That doesn't count the number of other community colleges in our district that serve and make a difference. Why do we do this? It's because the most important thing about our education is to prepare our students to be better citizens, to make a difference in our society. Each of our colleges have a commitment to making a difference, and we do that through service learning, through civic engagement, and many of our other programs. It's the hallmark of what we do, preparing our students to be better citizens. Thank you. Each of you received a copy of our 1-page summary, as well as our full, complete document that we submitted, along with another award that's called the Honor Roll from the President of the United States, as each of our institutions and many other have gotten there. So welcome and thank you for the opportunity to share that with you tonight.
Thank you very much. Board members, any comments that you'd like to bestow?
Awesome.
I would like to piggyback off awesome and just say I am so touched by seeing the community hours and the passion that you had that I feel every day in my classroom, but on bestowing the community spirit into students, and that is really one of your main jobs every single day, is to prepare them for the future. Thank you so much, and congratulations. I know how hard you work for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Sherry Olson, South Mountain Community College.
President Livingston, may I approach
Yes,
the podium,
please.
Thank you.
Sorry, that was Dr. Sherry Olson for South Mountain Community College.
Thank you for allowing me to share with you tonight an award that we give at our college each semester. There are 3 pillars that we give each semester. One is, and it's an employee-driven award process. They nominate each other, and then we have a panel that reviews the nominees, and then we select a person in the category of continuous improvement, learning, organization, and student success. So it's a peer-reviewed process, but it's who exemplifies it the most. And we created this process. It was an employee-driven model that came about 4 years ago when I came in as president. And this year at our spring convocation, this is what the Pillar Award looks like. And we decided to extend this award to one of our colleagues in the district. And this award is for the Learning Organization Award. We are honoring Eddie Jenna tonight for his work with our college over the last 12 months in teaching us about interest-based negotiation, as well as at the same time helping us build a shared governance model across our employee groups with faculty, PSA, MAT, and students. We have students sitting at our 4 councils that we've developed through this model. But Eddie has been through it all with us, and it was not just teaching us a theory about interest-based negotiation, it was about the practice, about allowing us to design something through using interest-based negotiation. Very, very powerful. So I would like Mr. Eddie Jenna to join me at the podium. Eddie has been the past faculty president of the Faculty Association at the district level, but he has been with us throughout the last year. And I just want to read to you what we put on this plaque with our heart from South Mountain. In appreciation of your time, talent, and dedication to South Mountain Community College. We dearly appreciate what he's done for us, and thank you.
It's kind of dangerous to give me a microphone, but I'll keep it brief. It's been really a pleasure to work throughout the district, really using this interest-based process, because it's really about empowering people and employees to do their best work. And I'm particularly pleased to have done this at South. It's a great college, it has great people, and I'm really glad to be part of that family. So thank you all very much.
And finally, Dr. Rufus Glasper, Chancellor.
President Livingston and members of the board, I would like to defer this to Dr. Maria Harper Meredith to present these awards.
Thank you, Chancellor. Madam Chair, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, CEC colleagues, and guests. 2 Maricopa Community College's programs were chosen as finalists from more than 1,000 entries for the 2015 Bellwether Award. The Bellwether Award awards are annually recognize outstanding innovative programs and practices that are successfully leading community colleges into the future. Innovative programs are submitted in 3 categories: instructional programs and services, planning, governance, and finance, and workforce development. South Mountain Community College was selected for their program called From Rhetoric to Reality, Innovating for Success at a Hispanic and Minority Serving Institution. This program was designed and successfully implemented to support teaching and learning and improve student performance through academic and student support services. The second program was the Maricopa Millions Project, which we've presented to the board before. And as a reminder, it is promoting the use of open educational resources. We call them OERs. The program supports faculty to adopt and develop OERs, and those are free or very low cost for our students. Our goal is to save $5 million in 5 years, and we are actually ahead of schedule. So I would like to congratulate Dr. Olson and the South Mountain College community for the recognition in Florida earlier this year, and faculty members Lisa Young from Scottsdale Community College, Elisa Cooper from Glendale Community College, and Dean Paul Golish from Paradise Valley Community College, because the 3 of them took the lead in promoting the Maricopa Millions. So thank you for the support so that we can have programs like this recognized at the national level.
Are they here tonight to take a stand? No?
Pardon?
Are they here tonight?
No, they're not here tonight,
Okay.
but
Why-
they represented
bravo.
us very proudly at the Bellwether Award presentation.
Well, bravo. If they're watching, God. Moving on, citizens interim. The board offers opportunity for members of the public to address the governing board in compliance with the open meeting law. The governing board will neither discuss nor take action on issues raised during this portion of the agenda. When necessary, issues will be taken under advisement and placed on a subsequent agenda. So tonight, we have Dr. Charles Townsell first.
Madam Chair, can I defer to Dr. Martinez, and I'll speak after she does?
Yes? I approve. Go ahead.
Good evening,
Good
President
evening.
Livingston, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of the CEC, and honored guests here tonight. My name is Cleopatria Martinez. I have a PhD in mathematics education, and I teach mathematics at Phoenix College. I'm addressing the board here. As governing board members, you must fully investigate the charges made against me. I will show that all of these fabricated charges lack substance or any validity. 30 years ago, in 1985, I received my PhD and I was hired by MCCD as a mathematics instructor at Scottsdale Community College. In 1995, I transferred to Phoenix College because I valued diversity and I wanted a more diverse environment. I have always received excellent marks for my work in my evaluations. I love teaching mathematics, and since my students recommend me to other students, my classes fill up quickly. I assume the students like me too. I am an asset to MCCD, and I should have never been taken out of the classroom. In 2010, the Phoenix College administration accused me of violating copyright laws and policies, and later accused me of violating the MCCD cash handling policy. In December 2010, the Phoenix College administration directed me to, quote, use only materials approved by the department that are available in the bookstore for sale to the students and that are authored by persons other than yourself. I am going to provide you with 4 examples of how this directive was exploited to the extreme and absurd. 1. I was reprimanded when the administration found that I was using the variable u in some math formulas. The administration demanded I use the variable x. After receiving permission from the author of material I was using, I used the Arabic numbers 1, 2, 3, etc. to identify the chapters I was teaching instead of using the Roman numerals used by the author. I was again reprimanded. The administration demanded I use Roman numerals. There's no mathematical justification for any of this. Also, per the directive, I was not allowed to make up questions on any test. I inserted 2 adjectives to better clarify an author-generated question on a test, and the administration again reprimanded me because adding the 2 adjectives made the question my creation, and thus I was supposedly violating the directive. Number 4, I made a list of mathematical formulas for my students to memorize, but was not allowed to use the list. I did not create these universal math formulas, but the administration refused to allow me to use the list because they said the list was my creation. There are many, many more similar examples of what the administration refers to as violations of district policy and federal law concerning copyright.
Dr. Gonzalez, I'm going to give you another minute to go through the rest of this.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. You have 3 minutes for citizens in room.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to remind you, you're at 3 minutes, so I'm going to let you continue for another minute to wrap up this last page.
Okay.
Thank you.
The president at Phoenix College and the chancellor attempted to terminate my employment. I appealed, and the appeals committee found that the district had not met its burden of proof regarding either of the charges, copyright violation or cash handling violation. I applied for unemployment compensation but was refused because MCCD claimed I had walked off the job and was insubordinate. The administrative law judge that I appealed to in court found in my favor. He said I had not been insubordinate, and he said I was terminated from my employment. I was denied the opportunity to meet with my supervisor when I filed a grievance in July 2014. And in short, because I only have a few seconds here, I have been exonerated of the charges made by the MCCD administration. First, the committee, hearing evidence regarding my termination, found the district did not meet its burden of proof regarding copyright laws and cash handling. Second, the administrative law judge concluded that I was not insubordinate and that I was actually terminated. I want to return to teaching my classes at Phoenix College. I have been wrongfully suspended, and I request the governing board make me whole, return me to the classroom, and rescind the suspension. I don't want the governing board to have any doubt about the fabricated charges made against me, so I request an opportunity to meet with the board in executive session or in an open meeting to clarify the issues and answer the governing board's questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez.
Dr. Martinez.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Dr.
okay.
Martinez, I'm very sorry. Dr. Charles Townsend, would you like to speak? Thank you. Thank you very much. I apologize on your name.
What was that you said the last
I just wanted to apologize for her name once
Oh,
again. I am
oh,
sorry.
okay.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam
It's all good.
President. Madam President, you read something about the open meeting law. Would you read that last sentence again? Because I didn't quite understand
can,
what it
sir.
said.
I can. One moment. The last sentence again is, when necessary, issues will be taken under advisement and placed on subsequent agenda.
Will be taken under advisement and placed on a subsequent agenda. Is that what that said?
Yes, sir, when
Thank you.
when necessary.
Okay. All right. There's always a caveat, I guess, to it. Madam President and members of the board and Chancellor and all of these presidents who are here and everybody else, the community here. I am the chairperson of the Political Action Committee of the NAACP. And I came here about a year ago because I was looking at television and I saw this row right here, and I didn't see one black president. That was about a year ago. And I was concerned that we live in an integrated society and we can't find one black person to appoint as president of one of the 11 or 12 colleges that you have, where all these black people in Maricopa County pay taxes and they spend their money, as I do for 32 years that I've been in this city. That particular night, Dr. Martinez read a letter to the board about what she felt to be an injustice. And that letter moved me to action, to say that the chancellor did not have the authority, based on policy, your policy, to suspend Dr. Martinez for 15 months without pay. a professor who had worked in this district for 30 years has to be suspended for 15 months without pay? It does not make any sense. I am a retired educator for 50 years. I'm 81 years old today, and I have never in my life heard or seen anything like somebody suspending somebody for 15 months. Now, what was that guy? Brian Williams from one of those TV stations got suspended a couple of weeks ago and fined $10 million or so. And I think he got suspended for maybe, I forgot what it was he got suspended for, but you know, I'm sure all of you know what he got suspended for and how long. You have no policy that talks about suspension. I have asked for the last year, give me the policy that talks about suspension. For 15 months? What do I have to do to get suspended for 10? What do I have to do to get suspended for 5? Or what do I have to do to get suspended for 2 weeks? I talked with one of the board members and he told me that he has never heard of anything like this and that he has been in a position of administration and he would never suspend anybody for more than 2 weeks. That was one of your board members that told me that. So I think that the reason I'm here tonight is because I talked to the old board, so to speak, about this situation. Been sending emails to them all of this past summer. Emails going forward and backwards and going forward and backwards. And nobody has ever taken the time to say to Dr. Martinez, well, why don't you just come in and let's see if we can get this behind us. I even asked the chancellor to reconsider. He didn't have the decency to respond to my request for reconsideration. Now, I also talked to Mr. Saar and to you, Madam Chair, about giving the public an opportunity to talk to you and you talk to us. But you give us this little minute or 3 minutes and 5 minutes, and then you don't respond to what we have to say. That's not representation. It seems to me that you ought to have, and then you say, if I ask you to read that open meeting law thing for a purpose, because I have asked to be on the agenda so that you could interact with me and Dr. Martinez and anybody else who wanted to talk to you and interact with you. You don't interact with anybody. And that, to me, is not, it's not what I consider to be civilized. So, I wanted to talk about Dr. Martinez, and I think that this board ought to take a look at Dr. Martinez's situation. 2 of the board members up there said that they had read the findings of the committee that she had gone before, and they agreed with the finding of the committee. Now, she went before a committee. It's called the hearing committee. You know, actually, she was sent before this committee to be fired. To be fired. And the committee says, recommendation number 70, we hereby recommend that the governing board deny President Solis' termination request and allow Dr. Martinez to continue her MCCD employment. That's when they sent her to the committee. I guess if you go to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court says, okay, Dr. Martinez should be returned to her employment, then you have to abide by it. But these people didn't abide by it. And they say they agree with this report. If they agree with the report, then it seems to me they should have had a hearing. If they wanted to get some additional information, they should have had a hearing. I do not understand what's going on here with Dr. Martinez, a 30-year employee of this district in mathematics. None of us would be happy with a 15-month suspension after 30 years of employment with no pay. Last thing I want to say is that I've been coming here off and on since last March, I guess, and I told the board then that, you know, after being 81 years old, I ought to be at home looking at TV like I was the night when I didn't see any black presidents. But when I come, I hear some good things about what's going on in the district. Some good things, like I heard tonight, some good things. And the good things are done by these people who work, presidents who supervise, the chancellor who supervises them. Sounds like it's a good operation, but sometimes, you know, there's a little spot that we have to try to take care of. And this is the spot I'm talking about tonight. Final thing, legal fees.
Dr. Townsley.
30 seconds, please.
Agreed.
Okay. Faculty Association, Keith Hefner, something's wrong with what's going on someplace. I called him and he told me that he couldn't talk with me. His attorney said he couldn't talk with me. I couldn't understand that. I'd like for you to look into that. And then I had something to talk about an employment or something. And then I think the last week or so, somebody came here and talked about board minutes of December 9th. And I believe I saw somewhere where legal fees was $1,827,500 in legal fees that you budgeted or something. But I need to talk to you about that later on. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I don't want to get all this stuff convoluted, but I just want you to take a look at Dr. Martinez's situation and make her whole.
Thank you, Dr. Townsend.
Thank you very much.
Cheyenne Jenkins. Ms. Jenkins? Okay. Michael Moreno? All right. Joy McLean? Thank you, Mr. McLean.
Wow, that's a hard act to follow. Y'all will be glad to hear about Phoenix College's fitness center. We have an opportunity, and we were just getting the word today, that we have the opportunity to restructure, that we're not going to be closed, and we are welcoming that opportunity. I can tell you that this school year did not start out that way. And it was begun when one of my students, I'm an old faculty member, 30 years, started the fitness center, called me on vacation and said, Ms. McLean, they're going to close our fitness center at Phoenix College. And I decided at that time that this just couldn't happen. It just wasn't going to happen. And so I came home and we started action. And the immediate feeling was one of anger and frustration and fear and anxiety and the loss of some of our faculty that had been on duty for a long, long time. But it also moved the students and the faculty and our administration, I think, and our community into action to save our center. So it now seems that we are given a chance to restructure. It's possible and it's attainable, and we're going to do it, Dr. Solly. In the cause of good health and the positive lifestyle changes that we know happen there every day, we will and we can do this. I want to thank the board, some of the members who were very kind to come to us and look at our center and take a look at what we really have and what we really can do there. The presidents, the chancellor, who have put up with us with marches and petitioning and coming to you about every month and standing before you with our t-shirts on. We thank you for the opportunity to be able to restructure. We're going to do it. We're going to make you proud. And tonight I want to introduce to you our champion, Edna Pasqualetti. Would you please stand? Edna is going to be 101 years old. She's a member. A very active member of our wellness class at Phoenix College, and we are so proud of you, Edna. We love you every day, and we want to be like you. Thank you very much. We'll make you proud. Thanks.
Michael Weber. Mr. Weber? No? Okay. Julie Jackson?
No, Weber's coming.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Weber.
Perhaps I should have spoken up a little bit more loudly. I apologize, I'm not sure how to address you guys properly. Members of the board, guests, my name is Michael Weber, and I am a new student at Phoenix College. This is my first semester. I don't really have something written out to say. I was working on that, so I'm just gonna kind of go freely. I just recently started using the Phoenix College Fitness Center within the last 2 to 3 weeks, and when I came to the fitness center, looking for information on how to sign up for classes, it was let known to me that I was notified that open access to the gym was going to be, how do I word this, closed, for lack of better terms. And I look at that and I figured, I'm taking it, I might as well go for a credit. But I look at next semester. Next semester, I'm looking to study full-time. I'm looking towards being a full-time student. So that's 12 credit hours. And with that, I might not necessarily have the availability for financially to say, well, yeah, we'll cover a fitness class. I might get to the point where they're saying you're full-time. We don't have any more money to give you. So I'm willing to pay out of pocket to use the fitness center. But if open access is no longer available, then I'm sorry, I'm a little tired. I won't have the same flexibility. And what I mean by that is with taking the fitness course as a course with credit, you're required a certain amount of hours to be in the gym, to use the fitness center to have a grade. Having open access will allow me to have flexibility. I might not necessarily be able to make it in a certain week or a certain day for a certain amount of time. And I'm going to go into something else. During the time that I have had access to the fitness center at Phoenix College, I have found greater mental clarity than I have had before. I am within myself feeling and seeing a correlation between physical and mental health, and I believe that is attributing to my academic success. Having access to the gym is benefiting my mental health, which is therefore benefiting my academic success. And I feel that the closure of the fitness center will disrupt that in a few ways. Thank you. Appreciate it. I recall hearing something about if the fitness center was to close open access, that students would be directed towards the YMCAs. Is that correct? well, okay, so regardless, if I didn't have open access to the gym, I would in some ways be forced to go somewhere else. And the time that it takes me to commute from home to school to somewhere else, essentially I feel would take away time from my studies and disrupt my academic success. I feel that the fitness center is going to benefit me personally, being a stroke survivor and living with cerebral palsy. I believe that it will help me with my own personal physical goals, as well as, again, I'm going to state again, it's helping with my academic success. It's helping me it's helping me push forward to achieve goals that I have with my life, whether it's physical, academic, personal, and in a sense, I feel that the classes at PC as well as the fitness center as a whole, not just one or the other, as a whole, is going to help me to do what I have to do to develop myself in order to benefit society. And I thank you for your consideration to give us another year.
Mr. Weber, you did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Julie Jackson. Good evening, Ms. Jackson.
Hi. Board members, college presidents, Chancellor Glasper, and members of the community. My name is Julie Jackson. I am an RN and a fitness center user at Phoenix College. Although I originally planned on presenting the comments that I had emailed to many of you a couple of weeks ago regarding the proposed closure of the Phoenix College Fitness Center, instead I would like to celebrate the decision that President Solly announced yesterday, namely that the fitness center would remain open and allowed some time to restructure. I believe this decision is in the best interests of all of the students, faculty, staff, and certainly for the community at large. Furthermore, it was very gratifying to witness what can be accomplished when people mobilize for a cause and when leaders are willing to listen. So thank you to all, particularly the students, young and old, that have been a part of this process. Thank you very much.
And finally, Patsy McKimmel.
President Sully, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of the CEC, and guests. My name is Patsy McKimmel, and I'm a nurse practitioner. And I have been an adjunct faculty member at Phoenix College for 20 years. And I have worked in the Cardiac Fitness Senior Wellness Program there. I'm very proud of that program, and I know the importance of exercise and wellness in both the physical and mental well-being of each and every one of us. The Phoenix College mission statement has always been to promote fitness and wellness to our campus faculty, our students, and our community. We have a fabulous fitness center, as you've already heard. We have wonderful, passionate managers of that fitness center, namely Alan Jackson and Ceci Saiz, am I saying that right? Who've done a fabulous job. And I want to thank you, those of you who have listened, as Julie said, to our concerns and all of our requests to please extend our fitness center, keeping it open, allowing us to continue to serve our community, our students, and our faculty. And I reinforce the importance of fitness centers on all the community college campuses. But again, I just want to extend my gratitude for allowing us to continue our program. Thank you.
We're moving on to the Chancellor's report. So, Dr. Glasper.
Mrs. Livingston, members of the board, I would just like to first off thank the governing board for
attending the legislative summit that was presented this year and has been for the past few years by the Association of Community College Trustees and the American Association of Community Colleges. We had an opportunity to visit a number of our congressional delegations, and we focused on a number of areas, but primarily trying to expand the number of semesters for Pell Grants from 12 to 14 and eventually trying to move it back up to the 18 semesters. We also talked about continuing resources for Hispanic serving institutions, and the broader context was around the Higher Education Reauthorization Act, which would include accreditation and a number of other opportunities for us to foster increased resources and programs within the Higher Education Act. There was a lot of receptivity towards veterans, and we are looking to try and bring some of these contacts, especially around veterans and others, back to Arizona and talk to our state legislative officers as well. This past week, I've had an opportunity to present to the Arizona Chamber, and I presented to a couple of other community groups around our legislative agenda and ways for our community college to broaden its outreach and gain legislative support. As you well know, with the governor's budget, we are going to be looking at a further reduction in our state aid to a percentage that is 0.5% of our operating budget. But with that, we're looking at an opportunity to speak to leadership in both the House and the Senate and the governor's office so that we can work on release of other areas within the structures of our legislature, legislative statutes, and possibly congressional long-term initiatives as well that would allow us to be relieved of compliance areas so that we can actually become more privatized. And I wanted to repeat that again tonight because I believe that there is a strong opportunity and a strong will to increase public and private partnerships in our community. And that was an opportunity that we also shared with our congressional delegations, and we appear to have support both at the federal level and conversations at the local level as well. So I would again want to thank the board for their visits and walking for a day and a half between the congressional offices and ask for their future consideration of agenda items that would allow us to further continue the conversation around public versus private partnerships. Thank you.
The Faculty Executive Group Council does not have a report this evening, so I'd like to move to Mr. Valverde. And he is presenting for the adjunct faculty.
Thank you. Madam President, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of the CEC, my name is Leo Valverde. I am president of the Adjunct Faculty Association, and I'd like to report on two events, one past and one that's forthcoming that the Adjunct Faculty Association has been involved in. Earlier this month, a number of our board members, as well as faculty developers and staff from across the district, were sponsored to attend by the Office of the Chancellor, the Academic Impressions conference that was held. Our institution was a co-host for that event with Academic Impressions, and the topic was Innovations for Adjunct Faculty Support. And two big takeaways. One is that we are doing a good job in our support of adjunct faculty, but it was very nice to get some ideas nationwide from four-year institutions and two-year institutions as to how we can make our services better. But the more important takeaway, at least for me, a number of people from different institutions from across the country came to us and said, "You guys are light years ahead of us." That includes community colleges and four-year universities, and I see this as an opportunity for this district to be a leader in a lot of the things and programs and support that are provided to adjunct faculty. Things like our Centers for Teaching and Learning, like MCLI, like Adjunct Faculty Professional Growth, and just having an association like we have, which is sponsored and interacts with everyone here and at the district level. So it was educational, but also very proud to represent Maricopa at that conference, and we look forward to working with them in the future. And the second piece of information is a little request. We recently sent out an announcement for a Outstanding Adjunct Faculty Award that will be presented district-wide. This is being done in collaboration with the Adjunct Faculty Association and MCLI and the Division of Academic Affairs. The nomination process is very simple. Anyone can nominate an outstanding adjunct faculty member, and it is our goal to award these recognitions from each individual college. We sent out a district-wide announcement, and then all adjunct faculty have also been made aware of that. In the next 24 hours or so, presidents, you're going to be receiving an email from me that has the initial announcement, and I am humbly asking if you could pass that along to your colleges, because anyone can nominate an adjunct faculty member. It can be staff, it can be another adjunct, it can be you. And we certainly hope it is. And we have so many fine and dedicated adjunct faculty, and this is a way for us to recognize those individuals. The deadline for nominations is March 9th, so there's still plenty of time, and the award ceremony is April the 23rd, and you're also all invited to that. Thank you very much.
One question, Mr. Valverde, where is the award ceremony?
It will be held at the Rio Conference Center.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
And there's also going to be food.
Thank you. That draws us in. Employee group reports. Mr. Dan Houston does not have one this evening, so we do move to approval of the order of the agenda. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving the order of agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Does anybody wish to remove any items from the consent agenda?
Madam President, I would like to remove 12.3.
12.3. Any others? So motion to approve the consent agenda with 12.3 removed. Second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the consent agenda with 12.3 removed?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Okay, so be. Non-consent agenda. No, I do have to do 12.3, I'm sorry. 12.3.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
It says that this is an agreement for dual enrollment with charter school. And I'm wondering, is this a charter school that we are sponsoring? And I'm wondering where it's located. And if it's on one of our campuses, are they paying rent? Can someone tell us about this? I see that Dr. Maria Harper Marinek is on here.
Yes, Ms. McGrath, Madam Chair, members of the board. The charter school is not connected to the Maricopa system, is not located on any of our colleges. And this is just a typical agreement for us to provide the dual enrollment services at their location. But there is no physical presence at the colleges, hence there's no agreement for rental or leasing space.
Thank you. I'm a little bit confused. I thought we already did these agreements with everyone, that students could move into the community college system while they're still in their high school. And I'm wondering, do we have to do a special one with every school, or is charter schools different, or how does that work?
Mrs. McGrath, Madam Chair, we have to enter into an agreement with each high school that offers dual enrollment. So typically, we bring an item with all of the schools listed about March, but throughout the year, there are occasions when we need to add one of the schools to the agreement, and then you'll see that coming forward to you. But we do have to, we need one intergovernmental agreement, IGA, with each school, public, private, charter.
Thank you for that very thorough explanation. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So, motion to approve.
So. Second.
Any in favor? All in favor of 12.3?
Aye.
Opposed? And it is passed. Non-consent agenda. Consideration of non-consent action items. First is Ms. Thompson for business services.
Madam President, members of the board.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Madam President, members of the board, this is a recommendation to adopt the proposed tuition and fee schedule for fiscal 2015-16.
Can you
Let-
speak up a little? Speak in
Yes.
closer to the mic, please.
Madam President, members of the board, can you hear a little better now?
Yes, thank you.
This is a recommendation to approve the proposed tuition and fee schedule for 2015-16. We had reviewed this last month with the board as an information item and shared some information on the proposed budget. Next month, we'll have more details to share on the proposed budget and a copy of that proposal. We'll be seeking preliminary approval of the budget in April and then final approval in May. As we had indicated last month, we are not proposing an increase in the in-county rate for next fiscal year. We're proposing to maintain the rate at $84 a credit hour. We also are not proposing an increase in the tax levy of 2%, which is what is permitted by the Constitution. All of that being said, we do have approximately $5 million in additional resources in the general fund that we're projecting. And as we had indicated, we have a series of priorities for the use of those funds. That includes increases to address employee manual requirements for payments for anniversaries that are celebrated, as well as educational achievements. Also, some recommendations for additional funds for information technology, maintenance costs, and operational needs. An increase to the self-insurance reserve based on our new property and liability lines of insurance. Some funds for student initiatives, SSE, the Seamless Student Experience, Student Success Initiative, Strategic Enrollment Management, and then last, the 60-40 goal that we have on adjunct and residential faculty. So with that, we do recommend the adoption of the proposal on tuition and fees.
Any questions? Any comments? Okay. Motion to approve.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I move the item 13.1, proposed tuition and fees.
Thank you. Vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. 13.2, approval of proposed fee changes for 2015-2016.
Madam President, members of the board, in addition to the tuition and fee schedule that the board just acted on, we are providing you with proposals on course fee changes that are recommended by our colleges. There are 134 new fees that are submitted for approval, 73 increases, and 84 reductions or eliminations of fees, and that has a net estimated revenue impact of about $436,000. You have in your packets detail on all of those changes, and we recommend their approval.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Any comments? Vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mrs. Thompson and Chancellor Glasper, I would just like to say thank you. If you look at our approval of proposed tuition and fees, we kept them equal. No raises at all. So thank you, and this is for the community. So thank you very much. First read for information items from Human Resources, review of employments.
Thank you,
Ms.
President Livingston.
Shelton Johnson.
Thank you, President Livingston, members of the board. This information item reflects the new hires for regular, short-term, and specially funded positions for the time period of January 1st through January 30th. And we celebrate approximately 83 new hires during that time frame.
Okay. Review of separations.
Similarly, this information reflects President Livingston, members of the board. Similarly, this information reflects the time period of January 1 through the 30th and reflects 41 separations during that time frame. The majority of those separations had to do with retirement.
Thank you. This is a non-voting item, but do you have any questions or comments for Ms. Thompson? Okay. Monitoring reports.
Mrs. Livingston?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
May I just comment? This is Rufus Glasper, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You mentioned under the category first read information item. This is not a first, we're not coming back for a second read. This is just for information, so it should be categorized just as information in the future, consistent with what the board policy, the one they passed
Okay,
in
very
December.
good.
Thank you.
Monitoring reports, business services. Ms. Thompson?
Madam President, members of the board, this is the budget analysis report that we provide each month for the general and restricted fund, or what sometimes is called Fund 1. It is our main operating budget where most people's salaries and benefits are paid from, utility costs, supplies, etc. In terms of prior months, my report is really quite similar. Most of our expenditures are very evenly patterned because most expenditures are in payroll, and that is every 2 weeks. So it's very regular that we see expenditures occurring, and our expenditures are on pace with prior years. We do give you comparisons in the report. In terms of revenue, that is also on pace. The one change in terms of revenue is that as we looked at our fall enrollment, fall has come and gone, and looked at spring enrollment, we do think that our enrollment that is projected for the year is less than what we budgeted for, so we've reduced our tuition revenue projection. That doesn't have a negative impact in terms of falling short of having resources, because the monies that we had projected to receive if enrollment had been that high had been held in reserve pending allocation, so we're not going to spend those resources since they haven't come in. So that's my report for this evening.
Very good, thank you very much. Community linkage, governing board reports. Mr. Burke?
I was, I was pleased to attend the Maricopa Council on Black American Affairs luncheon on February 6th at the Rio Salado Conference Center to hear Rod Ambrose, the Prevention Education Coordinator with the City of Phoenix, who spoke. In addition, I was able to attend the Champagne and Chocolate Scholarship fundraising event for Chandler Gilbert at Williams Field. It's a wonderful event. Those of you on the board who haven't been there, it's halfway to New Mexico, but I think you would enjoy the drive. It's a good event. And I understand they had a very successful year raising scholarship monies for students. Let's see, along with the 6 other board members, I went to the ACCT National Legislative Summit in Washington last week. And I also attended the All Arizona Academic Awards Luncheon in Mesa a couple of days ago. 26 students from Maricopa Community Colleges got awards. These are wonderful awards because these students get, let's see, maybe 8 semesters of tuition, part-time or for full-time, at one of the 3 Arizona universities. And so we had 26 students who got those awards. This is a function of Phi Beta Kappa, which is an honorary society for community college students.
Very nice, thank you. You've been busy, halfway to New Mexico. Mr. Gutierrez.
Madam Chairman, a comment. Madam Chairman, I moved through the district and talked to our various veteran centers, and I just want to share an observation, especially for those of us of the Vietnam era who came back, in which there were no services. You will all recall the line from the Bruce Springsteen song that the veteran man tells the veteran son, "Don't you understand? There were no services." So it's such a terrific thing to go to every college and see what each of you are doing. It is really a marvelous agreement that the chancellor has reached with Arizona State University, so that the experience of our veterans, the experience gained in war, experience gained in defending this country, can be transferable to college credit. And I am in awe of everything we are doing and in great support of it. But I want to make an observation. For some of you, you may take this negatively. I hope you don't. But all too often, I have heard from, unfortunately, some of our folks in the colleges that the reason we're doing this is because of the PTSD we're suffering. And I don't, look, let me be very frank. I don't doubt PTSD. When we came back from another war in another era, there were no services. And as a consequence, an immense number of Vietnam veterans ended up in the streets, homeless, etc. And I'm very proud of the fact that this country and this college system is investing to make sure that does not occur. But I want you to keep in mind this, that most of our veterans come back proud for what they have done, stronger for having volunteered and having gone and having either been shot at or having volunteered to be shot at, even though they may not have been. They put themselves in harm's way, and they come back stronger. For many, I suspect for most soldiers, coming back is looked, as they look back on their military service, they view it as something that helped them form a character for the future. It's a very positive thing. So I, particularly talking to the presidents, I'd like you to remind your veterans guys and women, administrators, that, yeah, we want to provide services to those of us who return with difficulties. But that's not why we're doing this. We're doing this because a very small number of people in this country, a very infinitesimally small number of people in this country, volunteer to go defend this country and risk their lives. And we're grateful. I'm grateful to the district. I'm grateful to the chancellor for everything that's being done. Thank you.
I would just like to tell everyone that I've had quite a wonderful time visiting 4 different colleges as of today. And as someone who taught for 32 years and always found something wrong, as is generally the case, this has been dying and going to education heaven. It's been absolutely a fantastic experience. I'm looking very forward to visiting the remaining 6 colleges. Also, I'd like to add that on Saturday I went to the Paradise Valley festivities for STEAM and for STEM, and brought along my husband, who hasn't been that excited about all my activities. And he's promised, okay, I'll go along if it's not too long. I said, oh, just be half an hour. Well, we were there all afternoon. My husband's a science buff, and he became so enthralled with what he saw and the instructors that he met. And even I, who am not so informed in science, really got a lot out of that experience. He's changed his mind. He really is supportive now. And he said, these instructors, they belong at universities. And we're very fortunate to have such incredible faculties at every single college. And I want to congratulate all of you and thank all of you for what you've accomplished. Thank you.
Mr. Heath.
Madam President, I'd like to enthusiastically say thank you to the presidents and the staff of that have given us tours, and in the introduction of not only their cultures but also their energy. Mesa Community College tour of their campuses, Glendale Community College groundbreaking ceremony, Chandler Gilbert tour of their campus, Scottsdale College tour of their campus, West Mac groundbreaking ceremony, and Phoenix College Leadership Council visit. I'm enthusiastic, so thank you. I really appreciate it, of all the effort and the consult that they've given us. Thank you.
Mrs. McGrath.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to add to what Mr. Gutierrez said. I'm so thankful to be free. I'm so thankful to be alive. I thank every one of you who's a veteran for that wonderful life you've given me. while everyone else was in Washington, D.C. in the cold, I got to go to Paradise Valley Community College Black History Month celebration. And as Ms. Haver thought she'd died and gone to education heaven, I thought I had died and gone to fat girls heaven. They served the most wonderful soul food lunch I've ever had in a long time. I regularly eat at Mrs. White's Golden Rule Cafe, and this food was every bit as good. And I had a wonderful program. It was a great opportunity to get to meet the faculty and the students there, and I thank you very much.
And Mr. Saar.
Yes, thank you. I also attended with Mr. Heap and Mrs. McGrath out at Australia Mountain and the Palo Verde nuclear plant and their groundbreaking ceremony that we worked with WestMech, our JTED in the West Valley, to put together a program for students to in high school and in our colleges to gain an incredible education and experience in energy, and their jobs are waiting for them when they're finished. And how much more of a success can you have for a student when they get their lifelong dreams realized through the efforts of our colleges and also our partnerships with the WestMech people. I did attend a Martin Luther King event at Phoenix College, and it was a very enlightening event. I really have respect for our black students. They did an outstanding job, and most discussions that I heard, and didn't hear them all, but the ones I did hear were very emotional and very impactful to me. So I appreciate the invitation we got to that as well. Finally, we did go to Washington, D.C. and enjoyed cooler weather. But we did get a chance to talk to not only our legislators, but we had an opportunity to speak with the Departments of Labor and Education and learn some things from them. But I think most importantly, they learned some things about us and how important we are to the state of Arizona and Maricopa County. And I think the relationships that we're taking back with us from those staff people in those departments will generate a lot of value as time goes on. So thanks for the opportunity to go and do the work.
And just briefly, I also went on the trip to, it was cold. It wasn't cooler, it was cold. What I enjoyed was not only the camaraderie that I felt amongst the board, but also walking into a room and hearing people, that's Maricopa Community College, as we entered. We're really held in high honor, not only for what we do every day in the classroom. Our instructors are amazing. Nobody has to put a label on them. They're just amazing. But also the fact that we can withhold such a low tuition rate and keep taxes at a great rate. We're really one special institution. And sharing that also, then bouncing around from building to building, and seeing our congressmen, our legislators, and really getting to talk to them. And there's no one on either side of the aisle that doesn't support us. And it's so great to actually hold a conversation with someone that could make a change and hear our words and hopefully take those words to heart and start implementing a change. And they're on our side. And it was a fabulous, fabulous time. I greatly enjoyed that. My first stop has been to Gateway, and I'm going back. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I'll be hanging out in the high school pretty soon, and if the little people will have me, I'll be with them too in their daycare. It was a fabulous experience. I was very afraid tonight that there would be a body part here. Just saying, I really was. Tomorrow I get to experience my first arts activity at Phoenix College. Very excited about the vaudeville show coming up with a meeting with Phoenix College. And of course, I'm already being signed up for graduations and cannot wait for that. And thank you very much, Dr. Pan, for the invitation to the Black Tie Affair. I will be there. And yes, I'm going to RSVP in the positive for the Heroes of Education. And I'll be around, bouncing in and out, and I cannot wait. Truly a pleasure. Thank you, and thank you for letting me serve. Moving on. Internal community reports. And I believe first up was Vice Chancellor, no reports, correct? Okay. No college had a report, just want to make sure, no, okay. Mr. Burke for AADGB.
The Arizona Association of District Governing Board members met on Friday, January 30, here at the district office building. Members received an update on the Governance Institute on Student Success scheduled for April 10 and 11 at Gateway Community College. And I'm going to ask our administrative assistant to send you the program. That has been published, a very good program. It will be on a Friday afternoon and Saturday, and I encourage everyone on the board to attend if possible. And that's something that we can look forward to. It will offer us an opportunity to meet governing board members from other districts in the state.
Very nice, thank you. Mr. Sarr.
In terms of ASBA and ACCT, both institutions or both organizations are heavily involved in the establishment and reestablishment of bills, both nationally and locally, and you can go to their websites and look at what types of legislation is being introduced both here in Arizona and the federal level, and do a good job of keeping us up to date on the progress, the ones that we support and maybe the ones we don't. But we've still got another couple months of this left before.
Oh, yes, we do.
Before it's over, and we look forward to all of us getting a chance to get down to the state capitol and letting them know what we can do to help us and what we can do to help them.
Yes, the fat lady has not sung. Establishment of next meeting dates very quickly. First of all, thank you, board fans, for coming and sharing your time. Your attendance is very appreciated. March 10th, we will have a board policy meeting. March 10th, 4:30, an agenda review work session. Our next real meeting for our board fans is March 24th at 6:30 p.m. That will be a regular board meeting. But please come and be in attendance, and we welcome it. Thank you very much. The regular board meeting has now been adjourned.